Listen up, horror fans. Apparently, Saw X is going to have a crazy post-credits scene that we need to get into. And unlike a Marvel movie, it won't involve a tall purple guy with a nutsack chin. Speaking to Cinepop, producer Mark Berg revealed that there is indeed a post-credits scene attached to Saw X, and that fans should stick around to watch it because old characters will be returning to the fold. What will this post-credits scene entail? Maybe the return of Mark Hoffman? Something else to do with Amanda Young? Could she still be alive? Well, let's get into it.
Well, sometimes that is better.
KillJoy, Jake, you have 30 seconds to talk about Don't Get Stabbed, a party game where you get to kill your friends and family for pretend. Optionally, this horrifying card game is playable for 3 to 5 players, where one person acts as the killer and everyone else is petty victims. All players take turns drawing cards. If a victim gets 3 stab cards, they die, but they can use action cards to avoid getting stabbed. Victims can also use combo cards. The killer, on the other hand, has special powers. If the killer draws a stab card, they can put it back in the deck wherever they want. They can also use action and combo cards to thwart victims' attempts at staying alive. Talk about Don't Get Stabbed or Get Stabbed. Live or die. Make your choice.
Dude, I was gonna talk about Don't Get Stabbed in this video. They're my sponsor today.
Really?
Yes.
Oh. Well, my bad.
Darjan. Slash into this killer card game by purchasing it on Amazon or don'tgetstabbed.com. Use promo code KillJoyJake at checkout for 10% off your order. The link is in the description below. Alright, so let's get into this. Saw X that comes out later this week on September 29th, I cannot wait for. Oh my god, every fiber of my being is excited for this film. This isn't exactly a franchise staple, but Saw X will feature a post-credit scene that apparently sets up more films in the future. Because as we know, Saw X is going to be taking place only weeks after the original film, and obviously sometime before Saw 2. Speaking with Cinepop, producer Mark Berg spilled the beans on what the post-credits scene is going to be, saying at the end of the film, stay until the end of the credits, because there is a scene where we bring back characters from previous films that will make you very, very happy. Before we move further into this video, I'm gonna be honest, I feel like we're at the point of spoiler territory considering another thing that Berg says, so if you don't want anything about Saw X spoiled, you want to go into it completely blind, maybe skip the rest of this video. I'm very grateful for you guys clicking on this video, thank you so much, but I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody. This is something that I feel like I'm okay with knowing, but if you're not okay with knowing more about the post-credit scene until you actually see it, you might want to hop off this bad boy. But I do appreciate your support. Berg also adds, if this movie works, you'll definitely see more of Amanda. Okay, so like a few things with this. Obviously, Amanda is dead, as we know it right now, but shit can get retconned pretty easily with new writers. On top of that, there are plans to make more Saw films past Saw X due to the fact that Saw X is projected to make somewhere between $100 and $120 million, which would be a lot more than what Spiral pulled in, the previous entry in this franchise, only $40 million. Speaking more on that, producer Oren Coles tells comicbook.com, we're kind of superstitious. We tend not to get too far ahead of ourselves. The movie's going to be released in a few days. For us, we do have ideas for the next one. We haven't put pen to paper. But this is his story. We really wanted it to be John Kramer's story and tell a John Kramer-like story. So for the first 30 minutes of this movie, he's John Kramer. You don't have any hints of Jigsaw. So Oren is telling us essentially what we already know about Saw X from other quotes I've covered in the past. This film is mostly going to focus on a story that happens sometime in between Saws 1 and 2, take it or leave it. And it's gonna be a really fun little time, but is it necessary? Well, we'll just have to find out. The big thing I want to focus on though is if Amanda is alive somehow and they decide to retcon that or say that somehow she survived what she went through, what does that mean for the future of Saw? Could we potentially get a continuation that takes place past the events of Saw 3D in the timeline, focusing on Amanda Young running the show? So doing a little Saw recap, because there's gonna be 10 of these movies at the end of this week, let's go back to Saw 3 for a moment. At the end of that film, Amanda Young is shot in the neck by slow-ass motherfucking Jeff. That's for you Dead Meat fans out there. Now here's the thing, Jeff shoots her in the neck because Amanda previously shot Lynn, who is of course his wife. John is disappointed in Amanda though, because she defeated the purpose of the traps. She gave her victims no chance of survival, therefore defeating the point of the tests. Now this seems to happen with a lot of Jigsaw accomplices, where they kind of just put people in the traps that they don't like so that they can kill them. John Kramer and Dr. Dr. Gordon, for instance, are two characters who don't necessarily feel that way. The point of the traps in their minds is to give these people a reawakening or die. But they get to make the choice. That's the whole point. With Amanda Young, if she's still alive, I'm not necessarily sure what her whole mentality would be about the traps. Considering that she's in a lot of photos and a little bit of the trailer for Saw X, I would imagine maybe we go into her psyche a little more in this film. Could we be establishing something this entire time where Amanda Young potentially doesn't really like Jigsaw's ideals and wants to go against him? Could that also result in why Amanda Young could save Mark Hoffman at the end of Saw X? So let's back that up for a minute. Also, at the end of Saw 3D, you may remember another Jigsaw accomplice, Mark Hoffman, got captured by Dr. Gordon, who's also working with Jigsaw. Mark Hoffman is left to die by Dr. Gordon in the same bathroom from the original film, but we technically never saw him die on screen, unlike Amanda Young. But let's say Amanda is alive just for the sake of this crazy theory and more things we learned from some of the producers of the new film. So as of right now, my theory for what the twist is going to be, if you ignore my video I put out like 5 days ago, just completely forget about that. This changes literally everything. I imagine that maybe Amanda Young is somehow going to get Mark Hoffman out of this trap, maybe killing Dr. Gordon in the process. Because here's some other fun facts about Cary Elwes, who plays Dr. Gordon. He's not necessarily the biggest fan of this franchise at this point. Cary Elwes has been in multiple interviews where he said some very vague yet weird things about the Saw franchise, so I don't think he necessarily cares that much about these new entries. I don't think he'll be returning for Saw X, which is truly unfortunate. Personally, I would love to see new Saw movies where Dr. Gordon, played by Cary Elwes, is like running the show. I think that would be so much fun, but it doesn't seem like that's in the cards. What we could focus on instead, though, is Amanda Young and Mark Hoffman, played by Shawnee Smith and Costas Mandylor respectively, running the show in the future, kind of doing their own thing, just putting people in saw traps to put them in there. Speaking less from a character standpoint and more from an audience's, I've always felt that the saw traps where there was a chance of escape are just so much more fun to watch. There's a chance that this character could get out, meaning there's tension. They're not just gonna die in 60 seconds, they actually have a chance to get out. Or, more times often than not, they don't. That's why Saw is this commercially successful franchise. There's so much tension in every scene, and it's done in such a unique and specific way that you truly can't get from any other horror franchise. So if they are trying to set up some kind of movie that takes place in the timeline past the events of Saw 3D, they gotta have that somehow carry over. Maybe they can do that in the character of Amanda Young, since Mark Hoffman is just way too far gone, especially after the events of 6 and 7. Mark Hoffman is just a stone cold serial killer at this point, as we saw in Saw 3D, where he kills like everybody. So what I'm thinking right now is that somehow Amanda Young is going to carry that philosophy with her past the events of Saw 3. Is that gonna get a little muddy and confusing? I mean, yeah, pretty much at this point. But for me personally, I just want to see new Saw movies, because I really enjoy this franchise. I mean, even Spiral and Jigsaw, that I would definitely say are at the bottom of my ranking for this franchise, I still really enjoy them because they have decent traps. The stories are a little lackluster in my opinion, but the traps keep me coming back. As long as they don't lose that tension building side to the Saw traps, I'm totally in. If you're just gonna show me somebody that dies in 30 seconds and they have no way to get out, that's not necessarily as fun. So for me personally, I want them to get back to square one essentially with this franchise. Give me traps that are escapable, but you gotta do some awful thing to get out of it, of course. Build some crazy ass tension and then tell me a brand new story with some of these characters from the previous films. No more flashing back to John Kramer about other people that f***ed him over. Let's just start off with Amanda Young and Costas Mandylor playing Mark Hoffman, and they're going after new people that have recently f***ed with them. I think that could be a lot of fun, but right now, obviously my focus is on Saw X. I am so excited for this movie. A pocket story with John Kramer where he goes to Mexico to kill off a bunch of charlatans. Thursday cannot come soon enough. Are you excited for Saw X, and are you looking forward to more continuations in the Saw franchise in the future? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching this brand new Saw X update. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more horror content in the future. Get yourself a copy of Don't Get Stabbed. The link for that is in the description below. Don't forget to use that code. Thank you all again for watching, and as always, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all.